David Michael Bradley, and the highest rank I got was Lieutenant Commander, retired as a Lieutenant Commander. Pretty much I was on the 39 and 36 boat for, that was all the majority of the time. After when we came back to Queen Anne, I found out I made first class. And from that point on, I was pretty much staff. I was Master at Arms with another fellow, Frank LaPiccolo. And we pretty much were the training. New crews would come in and we would go out with the new crews and tell them the ways of the world, you know. The training you got at Coronado wasn't necessarily, you know, what you want to follow. Here's the real, what we found out in the real world. So I had an opportunity to go out with a lot of different boat officers, and we had some interesting times. One of the boat officers, this is out of Queen Anne, we had this one area that off a air base called Toiwa. Well, they also had a hospital there in Toiwa, and they had a very nice beach. And so one time, and of course, with the hospital, they got nurses. Well, we went in, you know, to kind of indicate that the whole war wasn't all pucker factor and terror. We had some steaks and a little barbecue, and we went in and anchored, and I shot some movies of us cooking the steaks, and I think we had some beverage of choice. But the best part of it is the movies I have of the nurses diving off the top of the pilot house into the water. And I made a copy of that for the boat officer, and he occasionally chuckles over it. So, so there were good times, there were bad times. But through the years, one of the things that helped me, my biggest problem coming back from Vietnam, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, was, you know, the 50 fellows that are still on patrol. And it was like, I was there for a year and nothing happened. I mean, there were a lot of times when the pucker factor was kind of high, but and that's the thing that always bothers me. You know, why them and not me? And that's not a very unusual feeling for a lot of us that come back. But it's sometimes difficult to cope with that. One of the things that we talk about that on the tour, the fact that we lost 11 boats in Vietnam and 50 swift boat sailors. But only 4 of those boats were lost because of enemy action, lost to the point they couldn't be repaired. The other 7 boats were lost to the weather. I mean, we operated that boat, I can remember 10, 12-foot seas, and the pucker factor was very high there. I actually have films when we were running up to Da Nang for the tech support with the boat alongside of us. Now this is a 23-ton boat. That boat is completely out of the water. The films, you can see the air underneath the whole boat. And that took a toll on a lot of people. You know, I broke my shoulder, but people died because of the weather. We lost 2 boats, I think it was Qua Viet, that were pitch pooled. And to take a 23-ton boat that gets caught, you know, by a wave in the stern and flip it end over end, bow first, you can imagine what we were operating in. I think they stopped running boats out of Qua Viet after that. But that was probably, for myself, that was some of the hardest things to cope with, is to figure out how you're going to get over the top of that wave and come down. And what you end up doing is you tack up just like a sailboat, you tack up at an angle And just before you get to the top of the crest of that wave, you crank that wheel over and maybe even use some engine control to swing the boat around so that you come down off the wave at an angle, and that puts you at an angle going up the next wave. If you hit that wave head on, you're going to turn into a submarine. That, unfortunately, you know, the idea of a submarine is you come up as many times as you go down. Well, that wouldn't work. We used to joke, as a matter of fact, that somebody did a caricature of a swift boat and put wheels underneath it because you were hitting bottom a lot, and a periscope up the top. And, you know, it wasn't as funny as it sounded. Boats got their windows knocked out in the pilot house to the point where we welded pieces of aluminum behind the windows in the pilot house just so that they wouldn't pop out. Mark II swift boats, they made a lot of changes in that, made it a lot better.